anyone vote for Speedos, man? He's a clown.
You did!
Yeah, you did.
It's embarrassing for us as a people. No, as a people.
It's embarrassing for us as a
country. It's humiliating and it's disgusting.
But it's alright.
No, okay. Nothing alright.
You just ate everything of mine. I went through my cupboard and ate my...
Perhaps now more than usual, we've got to make sense of what happened Saturday night. I spoke to Dr. Clement McIntyre from Adelaide University, who's still watching the game closely.
Have you looked at the AEC site this morning? Yeah. Well, it's looking better for Labor every count, every booth that comes in.
What just happened?
Well, we had an election where, in a sense, it was clear the population of Australia voted out of government by failing to give Labor a clear majority, but equally there was not sufficient confidence in the coalition to vote them into office. So in a sense we've got almost a score draw at the moment. We've got to wait for the final results to come in a couple of contested seats, and then really I think it'll be in the hands of a few independents as to how they negotiate with both of the major parties to determine who will govern Australia.
And what else do you think is going to happen from here?
Well, for a couple of days it'll be talk and speculation and a lot of counting. The Electoral Commission will be going through the seats very carefully, the votes in the seats very carefully. They might not declare some of these seats until late next week because they've got to wait for the postal votes to come in, and they allow 13 days for that. If things are clear cut one way, we might get a resolution sooner, but it's equally possible we'll be into next week while the negotiations and the discussions are still taking place.
And how would it work if we went back to another election in a year?
Well, I suspect it's more like 18 months than a year, but there's no hard and fast rules on that. We would simply run another election just like we did. But clearly the message, I think, in that campaign would be, let's have a mandate for one side or the other. But the rules and the patterns would apply just the same, and many of the values that people use to inform their vote would be exactly the same too. Now, if Tony Abbott is able to form a government in the aftermath of this election, and then goes for a subsequent election to try and get a clear majority, he probably won't do that until he's confident that the coalition is going to win popular support. Conversely, if Labor win, they would be in the same position. So they'll pick their time. I think that if Labor can get a majority with Greens and possibly one or two of the independents, they are probably going to find less trauma getting their legislation through the Senate with the Green numbers in the Senate from July. If the Liberal Nationals coalition are able to secure a majority on the floor of the House of Representatives, they'll struggle to get that legislation through the Senate in an unamended form. So they might be looking for a quicker election, I'm guessing, than Labor.
So why is it that now we can have an election in 18 months? Who decides that just willy-nilly?
Well, ultimately it's the Governor-General who allows for the election process to take place, but she does so on the advice of the Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister of the day, whether it's Julia Gillard or Tony Abbott, looks at the numbers on the floor and says our legislative program is being frustrated by the numbers in the Parliament, let's go for a fresh election to try and resolve that. If the Governor-General persuades that there is a bit of a deadlock, there is impasse, that the government can't get its legislation through, or indeed if there's a constitutional trigger on the basis that an identical bill is being passed by the House of Representatives and then blocked by the Senate with a 3-month gap between those two events, that provides for a constitutional trigger, and the Governor-General would certainly grant an election if the Prime Minister asked for one. An early one without that would be really at the discretion of the Governor-General. But I suspect whoever wins office will probably have a couple of so-called trigger bills reasonably quickly.
But what is the likelihood of it, going 50-50? Is that a bit odd?
Well, statistically it's unusual, certainly, but there are 150 seats in the House of Representatives, and there's no reason why the blocks, albeit with some independents or Greens as part of each block, there's no reason why that can't split 75-75. That's still an outside possibility. I think that it's more likely to be 73, 72, something like that with 5 others. But a split of 75-75 after the independents are included is certainly on the books, and that would make the dynamics of the House of Representatives very interesting over the next few years.